everyone. Welcome to Across the Bifrost, the Mighty Thor podcast, where on each and every episode we explore the world of Marvel's Mighty Thor. I am one of your hosts, Ryan Doze, joined today by two members of our merry band here, our co-hosting cohort. One of the Warriors Three, Faz, is here. Faz, are you hyped to return to the world of Walt Simonson?
Guys, I'm so excited. I've been pushing for this. I've been subtly bitchier and bitchier as we go. And we're back, baby. Let's go. Could not be more fired up. It's Walt time, baby. And I couldn't be more excited.
And we also, of course, have our personal Prince of Power, our Hercules. Eric's here. And we're all gonna we are sitting down and we're prepared for a Herculean effort. Eric, are you up to the task? How are you feeling about a return to Walt Simonson?
I'm feeling great. I put my 6 kids to bed without a story. I'm just kidding. I don't have 6 kids, but it's just us. We're locked in here. It's gonna be good.
I can just hear Chris's voice from the other room. 6 kids. What the fuck? Oh my gosh. I love that. We are put the kids to bed. We are ready to go. We are going to be digging into the 11th, I believe the 11th part of our Walt Simonson saga. This is going to take us from issues 373 to 376 today. We are going to be talking about elements of the Mutant Massacre that happened within the pages of Thor. We're going to be setting some groundwork for the finale of Walt Simonson's epic run on on Thor to come to an end. So we're laying a lot of groundwork today, but we're going to have a lot of fun with it. And guys, without further ado, we're going to jump into our first issue of this episode, and that is Thor Legacy number, yeah, Will, you heard us, Legacy number 373, entitled The Gift of Death. We jump into this issue with Thor flying back to Midgard. He feels some weird, feelings as he's entering the atmosphere, but that's probably nothing. Probably won't, have repercussions the entire rest of the way on the Simonson run. He does kind of these weird misadventures across Midgard. He goes back to his old apartment. He tries to go to Muspelheim to track down Odin. A lot of different things just kind of happen, and then he ends up at the home of Jerry, the construction foreman, and he's having dinner with their family. He kind of becomes a beloved temporary member of the family. He finally gets Ernesto to eat his vegetables. We're all just very overjoyed about that. And then he decides he's going to give Jerry and his wife the morning off of parenting, and he's going to take the kids into Central Park, tell them some stories about a ferryman who may or may not be his dad. He's going to tell some stories about how he's friends with frogs, and the kids totally believe it. At the end of this issue, the kids have discovered who Sigurd Jarlson actually is, that he is Thor because of the hammer that they sneakily found in his bag. And the frogs of Central Park alert Thor to some shady goings on in the tunnels underneath New York, where the Morlocks, the mutants from the X-Men books, the Morlocks were residing, and we get kind of thrown into the Mutant Massacre storyline when Thor comes across Blockbuster, Harpoon, and Vertigo after they have attacked and kidnapped Warren Worthington, the Angel. And at the end of this issue, we see Thor stick up for Warren as he's unconsciously pinned against the wall, and he's like, okay, it's time to rock and roll. So we get that set up for the next issue. So that is what happens in general in The Gift of Death, Thor issue 373. Faz, I'm just willing to bet you are just chomping at the bit, ready to talk about Thor going to dinner, Thor protecting mutants. Where do you want to start? What's your hot take on Thor 373?
Me talking? What? The first thing, just very quickly.
That's a hot take right there.
I think that this cover is one of the best that Simonson did. He had some amazing ones, but just like all the characters around, the beautiful selfie shot, like the portrait photo of Thor, the shadowing, just peak. The thing I want to focus on about this issue is just how nice and sweet the children's stuff is, and how funny it was that Thor never actually bothered to create a secret identity here.
Right.
In the past, we've seen like Eric Masterson's house looks like this because he sucks, but Thor's house as Sigurd looks like this because he doesn't actually spend any time there, right? So it's a very different setup, and it's nice of Walt to be like, oh fuck, I haven't done anything about Sigurd in like 30 issues. I should probably reference the fact that clearly it's not a real thing I haven't put any effort into. But the long-going tradition of kids being more perceptive and understanding things better than adults is fully on display here, where the dad thinks he's like, I don't remember, Spider-Man, and the kid's like, he's way too jacked and way too blonde to be Spider-Man. Well, I don't know, Dad. Maybe the hammer he carries with him is Mjolnir. Who knows, right?
Why not?
So I just thought that was really sweet. It's a nice kind of the soft moments that show what makes Thor special more than just I hit guys big with my hammer hard. The fact that he can do these things is really nice, and that's what I like the best about this issue.
I'm gonna quickly piggyback off that one, Faz. One of my favorite parts of this issue was the slice of life things that we get, because in a superhero comic, we don't come to a superhero comic for, like dinners and, story time. We don't come to superhero comics for that, but we get it. And even like the little thing about Ernesto eating his vegetables, I thought that was fantastic. And then juxtapose that with how the story ends with Thor, being led into these tunnels with these bodies everywhere, almost like the lead up setup to a slasher movie. It was a comic that had a lot of different tonal shifts in it, and we put Thor in a lot of things, almost like an anthology comic. A lot of different situations he was put in. But Eric, what was your standout or the thing that jumped out to you about 373?
Well, Mine was obviously the frogs, but before I get into that, I wanted to go back to what you were talking about.
Previous episode where we talked about Throg in vast detail.
Yeah. How serendipitous that Puddle Gulp is now in this next episode that we're recording. But no, to piggyback off of the family moments, I mean, I also like that this issue showcases Volstagg in dad mode. I mean, he has to break the news to these kids that their mom is dead, and he does it so well. He doesn't beat around the bush. He's like, children, this is the time for courage. And I've got something terrible I have to tell you. But just the way that, a Volstagg, unofficial god of dads, is bringing them into the family is just so cool. So a lot of really nice moments. And this is what Thor loves, I think. I think he wants to be among the humans and the mortals, and to sort of see that's what he's fighting for, this everyday stuff. But yes, to get into my moment that I really like, Puddle Gulp and Bug Eye show up, and I'm like, there's my guy. And actually, technically, if you think about it, he is Throg at this point, but he must have changed back into Puddle Gulp to come deliver this message
because he's green.
Well, I think he's greener in the retouched omnibus version. I think he's browner.
Oh, they removed the racism in the retouch. That makes sense.
No. He's not. They're just they're definitely different colors in the original newsprint coloring, and I think they make them a little bit more green in this. But no, chronologically and canonically, which makes me sound super stuck up, but he changes into Throg right after Thor goes back to Asgard. So he would have immediately after then had the powers of Thor. So he must have just banged Frogjolnir into the ground to turn it back into a toothpick sliver of Uru, and he's carrying that somewhere with him, or he hid it. I don't know.
In his mouth, probably.
Deliver the message. Yeah, he's just carrying it around like a toothpick. But really cool that this is one of the things that it triggers the chain of events that gets Thor into the Mutant Massacre. Not a lot of other non-mutant characters were in the Mutant Massacre. They didn't have the Avengers storming in to like raise hell. It was like the mutants and Thor. I mean, I haven't read all of Mutant Massacre, but like Thor is much more prominent than he needs to be in that. We can thank Frogs for sounding the alarm.
Yeah, well, it's funny when you look at the issues that are included in the Mutant Massacre storyline. It's a lot of X Factor, Uncanny X-Men, like issues of that, and then it's like Thor. Thor 373, Thor 374. It's like, one of these things is not like the other. One of these things is definitely the mighty Thor.
It's the X Factor. I know.
But nice. It is kind of fun. Like over the course of the remainder of Simonson's run, we get every original X-Men showing up in this book. Which is something I was like, okay, that's a pleasant surprise. And they were comprised as X Factor at that point, the original, Beast, Angel, Iceman, Cyclops, and Jean Grey. But we see all of them in the remaining issues that we have here on this series. Guys, I think it's fair to say we can jump into 374. This is an issue entitled "The Fires of the Night." We have a cover where a Blockbuster, one of the members of the Marauders, is attacking Thor as Warren is still pinned to the wall in the background. We start off in this issue with the fight that was alluded to at the end of last issue, the three members of the Marauders attacking Thor, and of course, he whips up on all of them. We cut to Balder going out into an endless desert, him saying to Silverhoof, basically like, yeah, you weren't kidding when you said that this desert was endless. And he runs into a dragon, like kind of like almost like the monster from Tremors, where it's this giant sandworm, and Balder basically doesn't flinch, and the sandworm turns into one of the weirds, one of the fates. And she takes the feather that Balder has that he had been given by one of the ravens that had gone to go see Surtur. He takes the feather to her, and she basically is it Hugin who gets reborn from the feather? Yeah. So now the two ravens are all together, and she basically says like, hey, I might need a favor from you someday. And this is actually like setting a little bit of not an Easter egg, but it's giving us a MacGuffin for later. The reviving like waters of the weird. We see them come up later on in the culmination of this run. We go back to the Morlock tunnels underneath New York City, and we see a kind of a weird little Morlock show up, who Thor takes under his wing. This Morlock is able to cast visions of kind of what's coming up. Like it's almost like all the weird references that I can think of. It's the movie Next, where he can see just like a little bit ahead. He can't see like all the way into the future. And we see Thor bring him under his wing to get through these tunnels, because Sabretooth, Harpoon, and Blockbuster are having this discussion about like, hey, Thor's in these tunnels and Sabretooth is like talking mad shit. And he's just completely running Blockbuster down. And Blockbuster says basically like, show you guys and go get Thor, and stomps off. And this actually leads to a little bit of an explanation of what happened that was so odd at the beginning of 373. At the beginning of 373, we see Thor kind of be like struck with this almost like a fainting spell. And he's like, oh, that was weird. Well, I'll keep flying. Find out that he is brittle now. Like his bones are more brittle. He's not as invulnerable and as immortal as he normally is.
He's actually much more immortal than he normally is.
And Blockbuster smashes through the ceiling of one of the tunnels and breaks Thor's arm. And this is kind of weird, because normally if something bad happens to Thor, we're like, oh, he'll walk it off. But this starts the slow descent into him being breakable. And we see another scene. We cut away to Volstagg and another family moment where Kevin and Mick are invited to have dinner, and they sit down together to have a family moment. We go back to the tunnels, and we see Jean Grey and Cyclops show up, just like the Morlock's vision had said, told Thor that it was going to happen. All the mutants, they team up together to get Angel the help he needs, and they actually make a splint for Thor's arm. We end this issue with Hela. showing up in the Morlock tunnels. Again, a villain talking mad shit to Thor about death and explaining, what's going on in his body now, the brittleness. And Thor says that he's going to get rid of the death and the stench in these tunnels after the X-Men leave. And the issue ends with this fantastic scene of Thor giving basically all these dead people that had been murdered by the Marauders, the Morlocks, a Viking funeral. And that's how we conclude this issue, with Thor standing in these tunnels by himself, arm in a sling, and kind of waiting to see what will happen next. So, Eric, what jumped out to you about 374? I feel like a lot happened in this issue. We got a lot of good action, but was there like a significant part that really left an impression on you?
Yeah, I mean, this is really peak Mutant Massacre right here, and Thor's not messing around. He kills Blockbuster.
Yeah,
like Blockbuster breaks his arm, and he freaking murders him, man. But like, how many mutants had Blockbuster massacred by that point? Probably a lot, because the imagery in this is way more graphic than I thought it was going to be, especially at the time. I mean, I described the sewer scene as it's like body soup in the sewers. There's just body parts and torsos and heads and stuff just all over, floating around in the water down there. It's just soup. Thick with body parts. Yeah, like it's pretty funky. My favorite part was the Viking funeral. I think Thor looks just so epic at the end. At first, I thought when they were making the sling for him that they were just trying to teach kids first aid skills in the 80s. And like, no, it actually looks pretty badass when he's at the end there standing there. But he gives a Viking funeral that burns through the tunnels, and it radiates out 40 miles away from Manhattan. We know that because the same fire is seen in Uncanny X-Men 212, and X Factor number 11 also has the fire in it, and they actually don't tell you what it is. They're just like, oh my gosh, like, was that like an explosion or something? Like, get out of here. And the fire,
is there like a little C Thor 374 or anything like that, or do they just
it's on? If you've read Thor 374, you know what it is, Bob. And it's like they're referencing, you need to be reading this is a crossover event, and we're not gonna give it away. So I thought that was really cool. I think that. just the idea of a Viking funeral in the sewers and to just burn everything out.
Well, and Eric, that was just kind of like piggyback off that thought. That was my favorite part of the issue as well, was the fact that Hela shows up and she tells Thor this terrible news. And then he's like, it's almost like the flames are kind of an extension of his anger at Hela, but also the anger of these innocent Morlocks dying. There's just a lot of like pent up aggression, and Thor, there's this narration as Thor's burning away the corpses. It says, I'm just going to read a little bit of it because I think it's just fantastic. And now was acknowledged the presence of the Red Death. He had come like a thief in the night, and one by one dropped the revelers in the blood-bedewed halls of their revel, and died each in their despairing pose of his fall. And the life of the ebony clock went out with that of the last of the gay, and the flames of the tripods expired, and the darkness and decay and the Red Death he held immutable dominion over all. Thor, the son of Odin, stands alone in the darkness and wonders if he will come to envy the dead. So,
and I almost forgot about that asterisk that it's an Edgar Allan Poe poem.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a time in my life where I would not read any form of classic literature in class unless it was Edgar Allan Poe. I read a lot of Edgar Allan Poe in high school. That was my way of being a little goth sad boy. And The Mask of the Red Death is one of my favorite Poe stories. So completely forgetting this was at the end of this issue, I was like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. And I love the imagery. I love the use of it. It's so powerful at the end. That was my favorite part of this issue, bar none. Faz, what was your favorite part of this issue, or what stood out to you most?
So my favorite part was obviously the Viking funeral.
Yeah, well,
The first time that I read it, I didn't even pick up that it was a Viking funeral, and I thought he was just angry, and we got to see the wrath of Thor. So,
yeah,
like, it is a really special scene, but because that's my favorite part, I'm going to pick something else. Before I do that, listeners, if you like what we do here, we do have a Patreon. And we do really appreciate if you want to support us at the next level. Of course, like listens are the most important thing that we do. You guys listening, sharing the Instagram, everything like that means so much to us. But we have a Patreon, we have a Discord. I swear a lot more on Patreon. Like if you want the other
you
stuff,
can believe that.
we've got, like the pre-games where we kind of plan what we're going to do and talk about our weeks. We've got specific topics that we're going to try to work on next year. It's not very expensive and it does really help as we go. And like Will Rose likes to say, eventually we all have to go to a Comic-Con together, and that's not going to happen without your guys' help. So if anybody's interested, please check out the links. They're everywhere. Anyway, what
You're not
I will
plug that Colts game you want to go to.
No, I said the Comic-Con this time. The Colts game will come up next time we record.
Okay, good.
Because you guys referenced the funeral, I'll talk about the Balder scene because I thought that was really cool.
Yeah,
Balder has just this connection with the Fates, and it kind of connects with the fact that Walt cares so much about this character more than I think any other writer has cared about this character.
Truly.
It seems like. And it's really nice to see him kind of being a king, reviving the Ravens so they can kind of see what's coming next. Spoilers, guys, doesn't really help them out that much. Let's say like 5 issues from now, but the thoughts there, and we do get this magic elixir that might come in handy later. So I did really appreciate that, and I liked how scary the Dune worm was with spikes.
The Dune, yes, that was the better reference. Fucking Tremors reference.
So yeah, that's my highlight of the issue because the highlight of highlights has already been adequately dapped up by you guys.
Yeah, no, I think you're also right though, Faz. Seeing Balder be that king is important because Thor's MIA, like for all intents and purposes, he's out doing his own thing, and Balder really is kind of the Thor is the guy whose name is on the masthead, but Balder's the guy that's kind of holding it down. He's the one that's really like the unsung hero of this last little bit. So we are going to jump over into Thor issue 375. That is a legacy number, in case you are wondering. Got to keep legacy numbers at the forefront of mind because I know if I slip up even once, it will be brought up to me in a very one-on-one DM situation, like, hey, just so you know, that was legacy number yada yada. And it's like, yes, I know, I get it. We jump into 375, an issue called Shadows of the Past. This is one where we jump in on Loki beginning to scheme again and connecting with his daughter Hela. Yes, in the Marvel comics, Hela is Loki's daughter, not a stepsister like in the MCU. So just if you're new to Thor comics, that is a distinction between the two. Oh no,
that was like the most like sassy way to do that. Some of you aren't detail oriented enough to understand that they're different, but like just so you know, guys, like if you were a true fan, you'd know that Hela is actually her son or daughter in these scenarios.
In chastising me, you got it wrong. That was,
you know what, man,
so
all
good.
That matters is that she's the big sister. MCU for life. Let's go.
All I was just trying to give information. But what happens is Loki goes to Hel and he says basically to Hela to summarize, he's like, hey, I noticed what you did and like smooth move. Like, that's going to be very helpful. And they have a kind of a back and forth banter where they like, it's almost like, they fist bump each other for like what they do to Thor, but they're never like fully on each other's side. It's kind of an interesting dynamic we see played out over the remaining issues. We also see Thor hop on over to Tony Stark's neck of the woods, and Tony builds Thor a cast almost for his broken arm. Because again, we're not used to broken arms. We're not used to being brittle or being breakable. So we see Thor in this golden Iron Man type arm sleeve. And one of my actual like favorite panels here was when Thor needs to test out the strength of his arm, and he throws the hammer Mjolnir through a Iron Man suit prototype, and he's like, "Yep, it works, fantastic." And then he keeps flying off back to New York, and sporadically across the United States, he sees these weird lights in the sky, and he goes down to inspect them, and a former villain or foe of his is seemingly wreaking havoc over these towns. We see the Man Beast show up, we see the Wrecker show up, and then lastly we see Crusher Creel show up. What happens at these interactions, though, is Thor fights the villain, and the illusion of the villain falls away, and a dead elderly person is left in that villain's wake. We set that precedent all the way up until Crusher Creel shows up. Crusher Creel, the Absorbing Man. And Crusher is not one of the illusions. Crusher is 100% genuine, the real deal. And Crusher always has kind of this like really like snotty, arrogant rivalry with Thor. He thinks that, you know, he can be the guy to whip Thor. And Loki is using all this to his advantage as we kind of leave off this issue with Thor and in a dire situation against one of his oldest foes, Crusher Creel. Faz, what was one of your highlights from 375 Shadows of the Past?
Well, I really enjoyed the Tony Stark stuff. I thought it was really fun that and then Loki and Hela being like, only Thor would be stupid enough to consult the smartest man alive to fix this problem. What an idiot. And it's like, you guys are so blind by rage that you don't realize that like only an idiot would think of such an elegant solution to my problem. Like, what? Like,
makes
clearly that was a smart play, guys. Like, what are you talking about? So
they can't even, they're so mad they can't even like respect game about it.
Yeah, like it's never like a well played, brother. It's like, no, well, he couldn't have done a good job. He must have backed into this somehow. Yeah, he's clearly an idiot. He's an imbecile, but like pretty cool. And the my favorite panel from this one is the one where he throws it with the gold arm and then catches Mjolnir afterwards. And he's like, it's as functional as my own arm. That's just, it's really cool. And a lot of the other stuff happens too. You know, it's sad that Thor keeps murdering the geriatric people of New York. He's helping the government lower their tax burden or whatever. But
God, it's so bad.
But it is nice to see the Tony stuff. So that was my favorite part.
Yeah, no, I listeners of this podcast know I get a lot of grief for not being the biggest Iron Man fan or having some legitimate gripes with Iron Man fandom. But I thought Tony as a little like cameo here was kind of nice because, I mean, who else would Thor go to? Like, he could go to Eitri and the dwarves, but like, I mean, it makes more sense. Like, he's already on Midgard. Just go see Tony Stark. And I love how they use that internal logic of having an Avengers friend help him out. Eric, what was one of your highlights from 375?
Just real quick, correction, Faz. He's not murdering geriatrics.
He's murdering young guys who turn geriatric. But the point being, Hercules, that they're old men. They're just getting brutally murdered.
Technically, by the time they die, I guess they are aged because they have used all their. But I think that's
their soul or whatever, right?
Right. Very sad. But I think that's a really cool mechanic because you know, and it's just like with Superman comics, just like anytime there's a hero that's really powerful, you have to have some kind of a device to make it so that they're not able to go all out. And this is a perfectly logical thing where if he starts to get suspicious of, I wonder if this is a mortal that's just sort of like in disguise, to then have to wrestle with that and to be second guessing himself all the time and to be kind of pulling his punches makes for a really dramatic read. And then the big reveal of, oh my God, it's the real Absorbing Man makes it so much cooler because the trick has, you know, has sort of come to fruition at that point. So I thought that was great. I mean, I really just appreciated the conversation with Hela. I thought that was just a really cool kind of creepy moment with the skulls on posts and stuff like that. And Hela says, Hela's passion for revenge seems a pale and slender thing next to the towering fury that would sacrifice its own children to the storm in order to satisfy its demands. So she's thinking like, damn, Loki, that's cold. You're talking about like the prophecy that the world serpent and Thor are going to kill each other in their final battle. And she's like,
weird to start talking about that, eh? And randomly in issue 375.
Why would that come up?
That's strange, yeah.
But she's sort of saying like, that's dark, man, to be like, you are thinking that might be something that happens, but that's your kid. And so, yes, Hela's family tree is quite bizarre. She has the brother Fenris and Jormungand, the world serpent. Her mother is Angerboda, and actually she is on the cover of Thor 360. She's a giantess, and is the mother of 3 monsters. So Hela, Fenris, and the world serpent.
Quite the family tree. So I love that conversation between Hela and Loki, because we get a few of those in the remainder of the Simonson Saga. We get a few of the father-daughter gripe fests and them sniping back and forth at each other. My favorite part of this was I like the cameo. I love that we got so many different characters popping in on this one. Like, I always like seeing the Wrecker. I think the Wrecker is goofy fun, and I think Crusher Creel is like the Wrecker's more arrogant older brother. I have a soft spot for the Absorbing Man, and Crusher Creel's just like complete disregard for logic in these situations. It's like,
you relate to him, eh? You're like, I'm just like this guy.
Right. I feel seen. It's like he shows up. He's like, oh, how did I get here? Oh, there's Thor. Better try and kill him. It's like no part of him is just like, okay, let's assess the situation. Let's see, where I'm at. Get some context. He's like, nope, gotta swing this giant wrecking ball at the closest superhero I can find. I kind of wish, we got to see more Crusher Creel versus Thor in modern comics, because I feel like Crusher has kind of become a Hulk villain, but he has so much established roots in Thor comics that I think I would like to see a return to that. But
well, he's so fun every time that he absorbs the hammer, and he's like, "Aha! I'm giant hammer now. What are you gonna do, bro?" It's like it's coming every time, because how else are you gonna make him like a real weapon? It's either like it's either I've absorbed Mjolnir, or I've absorbed something that's tantamount to like I'm adamantium today. What are you gonna do? Oh, you're better than adamantium. Okay, I'm vibranium. Oh fuck. Okay, I'm Uru again. Let's do this. I'm gold. Oh, that's a soft metal. Oh, that's a problem.
Oh no. I love that, Faz, because it's almost like watching a comfort comedy that you've laughed at 1,000 times, and it's like, yeah, but it still works for me. And it may be dumb, it may be cliche, it may be a trope, but I still love that trope. And some tropes are just good enough for me.
So he became a Hulk villain by absorbing gamma?
I don't know. I see him on.
Does that make sense?
Hulk villains. But I think
that's what happened apparently. Hercules, do you know anything about that?
It's probably in the Immortal Hulk run that I read and I retained very little of, but I did read the whole thing. Yeah, and I think he's in it at some point.
He is married to Titania, and Titania is kind of She-Hulk's main arch enemy. So anyway, I would just like to see more Crusher Creel in my life. If Al Ewing can make that work, fit it into his busy timeline. So next issue, guys, is the last one. Oh, yes.
One more thing. Sorry. Like Eric said, I forgot to say it earlier. I love the fake Chekhov's gun of these two are fake guys, and then the third one's real, and Loki goes, oh, I tricked you, person reading the story. You never could have predicted it. I forgot to agree, Eric. That was just fucking awesome. Loki being a troll to us is great.
Yeah.
You're such a dumbass.
You thought he was fake. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
What a troll.
So guys, we are going to roll into our last issue of this edition of the Simonson Saga. This is a fantastic Crusher Creel cover, by the way, with Thor running away from a giant kind of kaiju-sized absorbing man. I love when they play with kind of the size of the characters like that. It's not true, but you're just like, that's kind of a cool little visual. This issue is called Heroes Always Win, don't they? We spend a lot of this issue with Thor and Crusher in a back and forth fight because at the beginning of the episode, Titania shows up and Thor inadvertently like backhands her, but Thor's even like, I didn't put that much force behind it. So he's kind of being like, I don't really think I did anything, but Crusher's like, I don't care, man. I'm going to kill you. And Crusher keeps going after him. We get a little bit of point of view from a news crew that's bumping around. I believe it's, oh gosh, what's his name?
Chuck Churkle.
Chuck Churkle, yes. Chuck Churkle.
Good name.
We pop back to Asgard a few times. We see the Odin sword being sheathed again in the aftermath of Surtur's attack on Asgard. We see Loki scheming in his castle once more, and we see Amora and Heimdall going on a little bit of a jaunt on the Rainbow Bridge. We get another kind of interlude scene of Fandral and Hogan taking Kevin and Mick kind of on a little adventure, showing them I don't know, just kind of like what it means to be Asgardian, kind of like a little life lesson about how their life has changed.
Feeding them apples of Eden too, right? So that they can yeah.
So they're actually good pickup, Faz. They're actually going to be immortal. They're actually going to be Asgardian because the apples, that's one of the qualities of the apples. We end this issue with Thor and Crusher fighting in the streets of New York until Thor summons a vortex, an interdimensional vortex, and Crusher does the most Crusher Creole thing, and he jumps into it, and he's like, "Oh, now I'm the vortex itself," and Thor's like, "Gotcha, dumbass!" And
I'm getting dizzy.
He sends him off to like a far-flung planet, and I'm reading this issue, and this is my favorite thing of the issue, by the way. I'll just say it right now as I'm reading it because I want to do the line where Crusher realizes he's on a far planet, and he says, "I'll bet this ain't even Earth anymore. I'm somewhere else. But how do I get back there? I need the power to get back. And I ain't got it anymore. I let it go. I'm stuck here, maybe forever. Thor, you tricked me. Thor. When I do get back, you hear me? You're dead." It's like, you are not in the position to be talking mad trash, man. He just keeps shouting, "Dead, dead, dead." And back in New York on Midgard, we see Thor kind of bumbling around, and he ends up fainting. He's got a little touch of the Asgardian plague. And then Loki, of course, uses this opportunity to unleash some demons. And that's where we kind of end off the issue. Eric, what was something that stood out to you in 376? Heroes always win, don't they?
This was my favorite comic of the ones we've talked about so far. This was an awesome issue where the Crusher becoming the Dimensional Winds thing was cool. But my favorite, there's 2 pages of Amora and Heimdall talking, and this is, I think, peak Amora character exposition. She is sitting looking out over the edge of the Rainbow Bridge, and she's pouty and traumatic and dramatic and just like, oh, must everything that is beautiful crumble and turn to dust? And she's just like mourning,
soap opera.
Scourge, and she's just like so dramatic. And then she's like having these like emotional mood swings of like, hold me, love me, Heimdall. And he's like, I don't think you even really know what love is. And she's like, how dare you? Like,
you men are all the same.
She's like, I'm the god of love. What are you talking about? I know how to use it.
She turns him into a tree. She says that men have like wooden hearts, or hearts of wood. So your
they got something of wood. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, stop! It was too easy.
And Heimdall comes back. He's like, you can't turn me to wood. Like, that's not how it works. And
you can't turn me on anymore. I know you love Scourge. Screw you, girl.
Turn me to wood.
Yeah.
You can't give me the woody is probably what he said.
Eric, I love that part because Heimdall essentially like hand waves her like, that was cute. That's not how I work. I'm on a different level, baby.
Yeah, you're being dramatic. And then he was like, dramatic. And he says, did you even once tell him that you loved him? Like, he's basically just like, you're
such
like
a sick burn.
I know it's deep. It's like he's there because he cares about her, but he's also kind of calling her out on stuff. And she's just like flailing and just like having a moment. She's going through all these different stages of grief and all these different sort of like moods and stuff. And she just seems like a lot to deal with. But I think that she shines through in just these 2 pages. We know so much about her as a character and how she thinks about love and just how she interacts with people. So I thought that was just fantastic. I mean, that really like kind of made the issue for me. I thought that was really good.
The really good use of Heimdall too, because we know he's an all-seeing Asgardian, but he also sees behind the mask that Amora is trying to put on for everybody else. So,
oh, that's deep. Yeah.
We can't just we can't all just lay on our couch all day long sobbing our boyfriend we didn't tell we liked, just half-ass out until like some bodyguard comes and just whisks us away. Amora was a delightful little interlude here. I will say that. And then we end on that kind of tender moment where the sobs of her sadness could crack the sky. Faz, what was your takeaway from 376?
I'm just impressed that you guys were able to talk deeply about that scene without making even one wood joke. So I'm glad that I filled in like 8 to make up for it.
We're adults.
My favorite part's also probably the Amora stuff. Also when Crusher becomes made of Uru, just because that's hilarious. Just like I said, of course he is. And also he breaks Thor's ribs, which is important, right? Like that's that's a big detail. The 2 things that I think I'll focus on are, number 1, Sif does some really great helping parenting in this one. This is where the apples happen. It's just really nice to see. And Hogan is scary, but also nice. So that's good. But the most important thing for me, because you guys already stole my favorite part again, is it's cool to see Loki kind of doing magic in a very sciencey kind of chemistry way.
Yeah.
And like working in a forge. Like, it's kind of cool. Like, I wish we could see Thor working in a forge, like if at some point we get to see him forging, that would be cool.
That's never going to happen.
But like unlikely to ever occur. But like, it's cool to see Loki doing it, because it would be really nice if we got Thor to do that.
Well, hey, fingers crossed. Anything can happen. So guys, this kind of brings us to the end of this segment of the Simonson Saga. We got Viking funerals. We got the absorbing man. We got Amora being all sorts of Amora. Loki is scheming. What were kind of maybe some other like the major themes of this? That we find out that Thor is not as invulnerable as once thought anymore. Anything else we need to kind of re-hit on as we sum up today's session?
This Hela spell or curse or whatever it is, where he becomes brittle and unable to heal and also unable to die from his injuries, it's a slow burn. I mean, it really takes, we've gone through months and months of comics at this point, and he's got, a broken arm, broken ribs, but he's still moving around. He's trying to just like solve the problems as they happen. He's like, okay, like, broken arm, I can handle that. I'll figure it out. It's all good, but it's getting worse and worse and worse, and he hasn't figured out anything to do to reverse it. So I really like the commitment and the patience that Walt is showing to be like, I've got this great idea and it's going to be so worth it. And to just take a step back and be like, 9 months from now, this is all going to make a lot of sense, to start planting those seeds super early on. So I love that about the Simonson run in general. And I love it about these issues so far.
What about you, Faz?
And I have to echo my guy, Hercules. The principle of preparedness is completely right. Like, no one does this like Walt. Like, all the best Thor runs do. Jason did this the whole way through. Al's currently doing this, but just the ability to be like, I don't give a fuck about your trades. I'm going to do 2-issue stories that don't seem relevant and are going to move things along. I'm going to do 4-issue stories that don't seem relevant, move things along. And I'm going to get all my chess pieces exactly where I want them so something will pay off later. And you can feel that, like, we're not at the end, but we're coming up towards some climax. Whether it'll be the end of the Thor run that Simonson's doing or the end of this particular arc, we don't know at this point in the 80s when it's coming through. But you can feel it building, that, like, they're not filler issues, but they're stepping stones that aren't the conclusion. Instead of, like, every 3 or 4 issues, we need a big conclusion to move on. Walt's like, no. We're building. And if we do it for 12, we do it for 12. If we do it for 20, we'll do it for 20. Who gives a shit? We'll get there when we get there. And like Eric said, like, the patience, you don't see that much anymore. It's part of what's making Al so fun, because he's got the patience as well.
Right.
And you can see like we're 20 in and we're not done anything with the Utgard realm in Immortal, right? And it's the same sort of thing with this. Like, we can go 15 issues and it's like, none of these are big overarching stories, or are all of them big overarching stories.
No, I love that you both focused in on that theme of patience, the patience of the storyteller to tell the story they want to. And as Faz so articulately said, fuck the trades. Obviously, now in our Simonson reviews, we're not talking about an era that was known for trades. So Walt can kind of pace it however he wants to pace it, knowing that, you know, I would imagine at this point in the run, he knows what issue he's going to end on. He knows how he wants to land the plane. It's just kind of like, what are the alterations to the course he wants to make to get us to that landing? So I think there's a lot of things being set up in this section. We got a lot of great fights. We got a lot of great little character moments for Thor and Volstagg, and it was a good little section. But I will say this, everybody, the next time we hit you with another Simonson Saga part, which will be sooner rather than later, we are going to get full on epic with some new attire for Thor, and he is going to fight one of his one of the best issues of Thor ever. Like, you know, we're talking about some good issues this time around. Next time around, we're going to be talking about some freaking epic fights and some epic issues of Thor. So, everybody, that is going to be it for today's episode. Faz reminded you earlier in the episode. I'll just give you a quick little reminder here as well. We have a Patreon. You can get early episodes, bonus episodes, some pre-games that we have for you. There might be some occasions where you get to vote for stuff, where we get to, you know, kind of put the wheel of the car in your hands. You get to drive a little bit. That's fun. We have a Discord that's a lot of fun as well. We have a small but mighty band over there that love to interact and talk about comics, movies, sports, things like that. And if you want to check us out on Instagram, you can get all of the up-to-date news there. That is where we're most accessible. And if you want to leave us a rating and a review, that would be spectacular. We haven't gotten a review in a hot minute, Faz. I think it's review time. I think one of the mighty listeners today is going to submit a review, and it's going to blow us away.
On that note, listeners, if you submit a 5-star review and you write something, I will read it next time I'm on the podcast.
Oh, and the next time you're on.
Now, I can't promise that it'll be the next one chronologically in release, because on occasion we batch record. But if you give a 5-star review and I see it, I will read it, no matter how ridiculous it is. So please do that.
Just remember, everybody, nothing is below him.
Just remember, guys, I will say whatever, unless if it's, you know, don't be racist or offensive. I'm not going to say stuff like that. But like funny things, like make fun of us, we are fair game.
Faz is the Ron Burgundy of this show.
I will do what I need to get us those reviews. Yeah.
Everybody, thank you so much.
Stay classy.
Stay classy. Stay classy, Midgard. Everybody, thank you so much for listening today. We hope that no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, that you remember to do one thing, and that is keep reading Simonson, but also stay worthy.
Whosoever holds this hammer, if it be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor.
Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum.
Eric, you will fully have
Join us.
reached your peak when you sing with us. So by the end of today, I expect a song after one of these recordings.
It is what it is.
I don't want to mess anything up.
Look, you like for years I sang the Thor the Dark World song because it sounds too similar to this.
Two
Like,
different songs.
so you don't need to worry about messing it up. Like, you can only improve this clusterfuck that Ryan and I have built at the end of episodes.